great to be on the show for the first time.
I know.
And, seeing what you guys are doing a little bit here and there. Love it. So it's good to finally be with you.
So you said first time, which means maybe he'll come back a second
I think
time.
Yeah, he just left the door open.
Do this right.
That's right.
Hey, everybody, welcome into Mics Are Hot, a very special podcast edition, I might add. Kaitlyn Vinci alongside Heather DeBow. Heather DeBow is here in Charlotte, all the way from Phoenix.
Yes.
This is exciting.
In the flesh.
Heather DeBow in the house. It's
like
good to see you,
person, eye to eye.
Eye to eye. I know that doesn't get to happen very often. But the reason we're here, we're at the Charlotte Convention Center NASCAR Hall of Fame downtown for a very special inaugural Racers Forum. This is so cool what has Racing America has put together for this today. Teams, partners, tracks, a bunch of people are here. There's panels coming in and talking to groups of people. This is going to be really, really cool.
Yes, all the big wigs are here, and we get to talk to
I don't know why
we're
we're here then. Why are we?
Hey, we're
not
here
a big
because
wig.
we're special. We're big time now because we're doing this. It's almost like a live show right now, and I love it.
This is a live show, and it's just nice to actually, be in the same place.
Yes.
We have so many guests who are going to be joining us as well. This is a two-part episodes, right? How do you say that?
Yeah. It's
two
a
episodes.
special edition.
Special edition, 2 episodes, lots of guests joining us. For today, though, we've got Jeff Gordon's going to be here.
Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
In that,
do you know who that is?
Yeah, the Black SS with the navigation. Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, so Heather Gibbs will be here.
Yes.
Julie Giese.
Yes.
And Ty Norris from
Ty
Track
Norris.
House. So we
Big
have
time.
a lot of very unique personalities joining us today. I can't wait for this. This is going to be very, very cool.
We'll have some really good conversations. And it's neat, this event, because when we're all at the racetrack, we kind of talk to each other and have conversations, but it's really hard to get all the industry members together to have the important conversations.
Right.
They kind of happen in little blips, if you will,
It's
throughout
true.
weekends, and then you have to circle back, and so this
Right.
is a good opportunity to get everybody in one spot to actually talk about the state of the sport, talk about what's going well, what can we do better,
Exactly.
and
Yes.
all that stuff. And I'm glad that actually we're just getting to interview people, because I don't want to be on that side of it, having to give the ideas of all the things.
Hey, you have plenty of good ideas. But these are going to be really interesting interviews for sure. We're going to cover a lot of different bases. And just get our panelists' feelings on the state of the sport right now, because it's changed so much over the years, and it's going to keep changing and evolving. And that's the goal here, I think, today, is just everyone working together to make the sport better, which is awesome.
Yes. Yes. So do you have any ideas off the top of your head?
Why are you going to do that?
Because you left it open, so I went there.
I honestly have to commend NASCAR for what they've been doing, because they're not afraid to go outside the norm, right? We've seen so many unique racetracks we've gone to, whether it's the Chicago Street Course, Bristol Dirt, the Charlotte Roval, even though that's been in operation for a while now. I just commend NASCAR for trying new things. I think that's the whole point, is to keep doing new things, to keep fans engaged and bringing more people in.
Right.
What's your idea?
Well, I don't have one, but I will say what the challenge is. I think the challenge is keeping the old fans that have been around since,
the loyal, very loyal fan
old
base.
school race fans, and then bringing in the new eyes to the sport. So
Right.
whoever has the answer for that is a genius. And hopefully they can figure out more on that today.
It's a delicate balance.
Yes.
You got to please everybody, which is pretty much impossible. But I know that NASCAR and all of the partners are definitely trying to do that. So it starts with things like this Racers Forum today, of just getting everyone to collaborate, get their ideas together to try and make some changes and differences. So, yeah.
Yes, it's going to be fun. I'm so excited to be here. I can't even talk.
too.
I can't even talk.
Can't even
It's
talk. That's good. We got to
you
talk
picked me up
for
from the airport
hours.
last night, and we were just
Yep.
like, "Oh my God, we're here! And it's so exciting!"
We immediately saw a bunch of lookalikes. We thought we saw
did.
Anderson Cooper
We
at
did
the
think we
airport,
saw
but it
Anderson.
wasn't him.
It wasn't him.
And then who else did we thought we saw? Jamie Little, but it wasn't
Yes, it
her
wasn't
either.
her. She was a blonde lady, so it wasn't her. And then you know who looks like a lookalike here today? We thought we saw Steve Phelps already.
Right, but it wasn't him. It's been good. We've seen a lot of celebrity lookalikes. So we watched the Dallas game last night.
Yes,
hung
Cowboys.
out a little bit.
You're a big Cowboys fan.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a big Cowboys fan. My husband is, so I've just kind of go with the flow. We root for them in the house, which I mean, I'm getting into it. I didn't really have a team, so this is fine. So it's fine for me to align with them.
Yes. Your daughter asked me this morning who my favorite team was.
Did she?
And I said, I don't have one. And she's like, I'm a Cowboys fan.
This is sad. My husband has already infiltrated that into her brain at such a young age. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had a dance party, too, me and Cadence.
You did. You were dancing to Whitney Houston, Lady
Well, I
Gaga.
had to introduce her because she had this little book that asked, like, what's your BFF and you's favorite song, and then you can make up a dance to it. So she's a Lady Gaga fan. Like, all her songs she picked were Lady Gaga. But I introduced her to Whoomp There It Is because that's a classic.
And you were singing it.
I was rapping
very
it
loud.
We all know I like to rap.
Yeah,
and then, Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody.
I know. It was
Which
good.
is way
She was
before
having
her
a lot
time.
of fun with you.
Yeah, we had fun.
Which is nice.
She asked me, how long are you going to be here? I said, till Thursday. Okay, well, what day is that? It's after tomorrow. So you got basically 2 days with me.
That's right. Well, we're very glad that you are here. The whole family is glad that you're here.
Well, I'm happy to be your roommate.
Kids love having new people in the house to hang out with.
I think Dawson is still warming up to me, though.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's playing hard to get.
He still mean mugs me.
Isn't that interesting? I've never had a man play hard to get, but
he's never, huh?
Not really. I mean, you probably haven't either.
Well, that's another conversation
Dawson.
for another show there, Kaitlyn.
Anyway, let's talk about racing. I'm going to get this back on track.
Okay.
You've been super busy, by the way.
Yes.
I always feel for you a little bit because you're on the road, traveling, doing all the things you're doing, and then we're immediately trying to, like, reconvene our brains to plan out the episodes and the questions and things we're going to do. You have a lot on your plate. And I got to watch some of your ARCA coverage over the weekend. You did a great job.
Thank you.
There was a lot of moving pieces. You were doing a good job of balancing.
Yes. So ARCA finale happened in Toledo, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. So I had to do a whole champions interview with like 4 different
50 people.
Yeah, it seemed like 50 for sure. And, trying to coordinate everybody kind of on my own. So Jesse Love, of course, was the champion. So I start with him, and then they're yelling in my ear, get Bill, get Bill. So I'm interviewing Jesse, and like I'm like looking at him, and I'm going like, Bill's over here. And I'm like, you can't see me on camera going, hey. So I had to reel him in.
Over here.
Yeah,
Producer.
mind you, all this is happening, and Billy Venturini is spraying us with a magnum-sized
part. Honestly,
she's champagne.
Trying so hard to not to embrace the moment, but she's kind of like, okay, enough with the champagne.
I didn't mean to. I was trying because it was shooting me in the eye, so I was like,
it's all fun and games.
And
so
it was
kind
of embarrassing, but it's fine. But then I went from Jesse to Big Bill, who gave the big kiss, then to Shannon Rush, who got so emotional and cried, and that was really a sweet moment. Then had to go around and give the president of ARCA his opportunity to present the trophy, and that all happened.
Then you
in a fluid motion. I ran into the camera. But,
yeah.
Oh. Speaking of oops, there goes your timer.
I see it. I can still see it. Sort of. But yeah, that's a lot to balance when you're down there. And like the championship moments are just what the team has worked for the whole year, and you're trying to make sure you get to hear from all of the key players. It's a lot to sort of manage in the moment as the pit reporter.
But it was fun to be in that moment. It's fun to be a part of it. Like as much as the champagne was hitting me in the face and all in my hair, like I was like, man, that's cool. I'm glad they included me in that.
Yeah, those are the memories you'll probably moments you'll remember always.
Right.
When you're thinking
exactly.
back on your
and it's
pit
like
road
people
career.
are gonna wonder what we just talked about right now with like the timer. So this is going to give you a behind the scenes of what we're actually doing right now. So we talked for about 20 minutes for the open of the show, and I had the timer on my phone going, and now it's not there anymore.
So we're just going to make a guesstimate on when we reach
20 minutes. You could do it. I think we're at what, 5, 7, 8 minutes.
There you go. Okay,
halfway.
Cool. All right, good job. Good job out of you. So yeah, you were at the ARCA race. We've got trucks coming up this weekend, actually, out at Homestead Miami Speedway in Florida, which of course used to host the season finale for years. Now it's in Phoenix. But the last truck race, Talladega, was very eventful post-race. I know we talked about this, the Matt Crafton, Nick Sanchez situation. So I actually had a chance to talk to Nick Sanchez for a feature we're going to air for pre-race for Fox on race day. We did a corn maze together. Have you ever done one of those?
I have.
Did you like it?
Okay, I've done a couple.
No.
I've done a couple. If it's the one where they're running out of the corn at you with like machetes and stuff, I'm not into it.
No.
I'd rather just go like on a nice sunny afternoon and like walk through a maze.
Stroll.
Yes.
Well, this was the most confusing maze, and I really did enjoy it. But I've been to it twice now. Okay. Once with my kids, and then once with Nick Sanchez, who's kind of a kid to me as well.
Yeah.
But so you would get these little forms, and it would ask you questions, and based on the answers, whether you would turn right or left.
Oh, okay.
The problem is, if you don't know the answer, you're going the wrong way anyway.
Right.
Right? So I'm looking at these questions, and I'm like, it's like Disney movie stuff, which you would think I would know all of that, but I didn't.
No.
And so I was going all around the wrong way.
Now, was Nick
Very
with you,
counterproductive.
helping you with this? Were you
Well, that
together,
was
or were
when
you
I
trying to
went
beat each
with
other?
my kids.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So
Okay.
that was when I actually went with them. So I kind of ended up giving up and just went back to the entrance.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not getting through this.
I'm
thing.
over it.
But then with Nick, we did it twice actually because they were doing some drone shots, which
Oh,
was really
cool.
cool. So we actually walked through it, just the two of us, twice, and it was a lot more simple when you weren't trying to follow the questions.
Right.
I was like, wow, we should have never done that to begin with. So
Hey, they were
So,
trying to help you.
but I asked him at one point, I was like, hey, are you afraid someone's going to like come out of the corn and just deck you in the face?
Oh, no. What did he say?
He laughed. He was a good sport. We had to reference it. We had to talk about
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
you
the
have to. You
situation.
can't not.
So I'm not going to give away his answers because you got to watch race day on Saturday to find out what he had to say. But he's still in the championship hunt, of course, 3 points above the
Yep.
line. It is like so tight at that cut line right now.
Yes.
For trucks. Like
Yes.
I'm very curious how this is going to go because if you recall, the last race was won by a non-playoffs guy.
Right.
So if that happens again, that means 3 will go on points. And those points obviously are going to be super important.
Yeah,
So
points
I don't-
matter.
I don't know.
Points
We're going to
matter.
have to see.
You know what, though? You want to know my favorite memory from Homestead?
What is it?
Well, you and I were in Key Largo together, and we sang karaoke. What song was it?
Leave the Pieces, I think, right?
I think so.
Isn't that Michelle Branch, Vanessa,
yes.
somebody?
Yeah,
Who was it?
yeah.
I don't even
And
remember.
Maybe we nailed it. I
We-
know that.
We did a good job. I know we did really good on the song because
Yeah.
we've done karaoke before
Yes.
a couple times.
Did we ever do? What was the other one we did? I feel like it was Picture or something.
Oh, Cheryl. Who was Kid Rock's
I don't
part?
know. Probably me. I don't know.
The baritone.
I did the low voice.
We're known to do some karaoke from time to
Yeah,
time. But
maybe-
Homestead, I love that track.
Me too.
I love that area and going down to Key Largo and hanging out. I've
Yeah.
done that a couple times after the race, like go out and
It
be in
is
that
fun.
area for a couple
It
days.
is fun. We're also coming off of Vegas.
How was
And,
that?
Well, Larson was the winner. I was
Oh,
also
yeah.
the winner, Kaitlyn. I came out $150 on top.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Look at you.
Played the-
Larson probably had more money than you.
Yeah,
He won a
Young
little
Money
more.
is
A lot
probably
of
a lot
money.
more money than me.
We
for
need
sure.
to rename him A Lot of Money.
A lot of money.
Done with the Young Money.
A
Just
lot of
a lot of
money.
money. Yeah, Kyle Larson. What an awesome race
know.
for him.
Locked
And
in.
Locked in the championship 4. No surprise there. I saw where Cliff Daniels gave his save like a 9.4
A
or something.
9.4.
Did you see
What's
that?
the missing point
He
six
said
exactly?
he goes, well, you hit the wall, so it would be a 10 if you hadn't hit the wall.
Yeah, but I think the wall is what saved him. If he didn't hit the wall, I don't think it would have been a save. It would have been a big fat goose egg donut.
You can take this up with Cliff Daniels.
I will. I will.
Usually-
Next time I see him,
Yeah,
Cliff.
be like, hey,
you and I,
listen,
we're going
this
to talk
should have
about
been
this.
a 10. 10 out of
It's a
10
10.
save.
She's a 10.
What else did you do in Vegas, though? Do you,
Nothing at all. I went to bed early.
I don't
got a
believe
lot
her
of
for a
sleep.
second.
Yeah.
Based on texts I got the next morning, that's
What happens in Vegas, Caitlin, stays in Vegas.
that's
okay,
the old saying. I don't even
Mhm.
know if that's true anymore.
it's true.
'cause
It is definitely true.
I'm glad you had a good time.
It was fun.
Yeah,
I had a
and
great
it was
time.
like a friends week. Like you had friends
Yeah,
there.
I did have friends. There's a couple friends from high school were in town, so I got to spend some time with them. Sometimes we try to do girls' weekends in the midst of a race weekend, which
Oh,
for
that's a
me
good
is not
idea.
as fun for them because I like try to partake in the activities, but I can only like halfway partake because then I got to go to work.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's
You
fun.
got a job to
Sometimes
do.
I got a job to do. But it was good to see them and have them there for
That's
sure.
good.
So
Yeah.
yep. Shout out to Shannon and Janelle.
Shout out to Shannon. And Shannon's going to make an appearance in a moment.
Yes,
later
she
in our
is.
show.
Yes, she is. Little
technically.
did she know.
Little did she know that she is getting an appearance here on the show because it's part of our fan questions.
Yes.
But the first one, actually, that we're going to address came from TSGT Ray, which is where can you watch the show? And, of course, you can watch it on the Racing America YouTube platform.
Yep.
That's one of the places you can see it, also on racingamerica.com. And you can always listen to our show on your normal places for podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all the things. So make
Absolutely.
sure you keep watching. We've really enjoyed people weighing in and telling us they've been watching the show or listening
Yes.
and saying they've been enjoying it.
Yeah.
Like
I've had-
somebody
I've
just
had
sent
people
us
s-
one the other
I
day that was
know.
very nice.
Yeah, a nice little tweet from a gentleman that just said he kind of fell upon our podcast.
Yes.
It wasn't
He
even
said he
aware it
watched-
existed.
He listens to 13 a week. I
13
didn't even know there were
podcasts a week.
13 races.
I can barely get to like 2 or 3. I
Right.
used to listen to a lot more, but lately it's just not happening. But we really sincerely appreciate like
Yes,
everybody that's tuned
absolutely.
in, that's listened. Thank you so much. we hope you continue because we enjoy hearing the comments from you, and it just makes us happy to know that you like us.
It does. Speaking of likes, I think this guy likes you. What did
this
he say?
guy, speaking Mr. Case in Woods, shout out to him. He wanted to know, how did you and I choose our career path?
You go first.
Me first. Well, I didn't choose this race life. It chose me.
There you go.
But I have a marketing degree from ASU, so I did not go to school for journalism. I didn't know even how to talk on a microphone prior to this. So
you said earlier today you couldn't talk.
I know, clearly.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed. Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing with my career path. But I think I talked about it a little bit before on another show, but there was an audition for Speed Channel for the Road Tour team. We showed up, auditioned. They hired 5 of us. So I used to be the hype woman at the speed stage, throwing T-shirts, and then slowly worked my way into pit reporting. And here I am now.
We have very similar stories, but I did know I wanted to do journalism from a really pretty young age. My parents have videos of me doing the news, and I was like 12 with in front of a camera, home video camera. So I was always into it, into sports, even in high school. I wrote sports stories for my high school newspaper, did the same in college, did 3 internships around journalism and racing while I was in school, ended up working at a small racetrack called Langley Speedway, which many people are familiar with, for a couple years as a reporter. I had to work at a tanning salon and a restaurant to pay my bills until I got hired at Speed Channel, and then it just kind of progressed from there. So.
Did you know you always wanted to do motorsports, or what made you choose that over like stick ball?
So when I first went to a race, it was at Richmond, and I loved it. I was like, this is so unique. I hadn't grown up in a racing family, but once I caught the racing bug, we always call it that. Yeah, the rest was history. I didn't think about any other sport other than racing. So.
Nice. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. So next question sort of ties into this. Let's Mow wants to know.
Let's Mow.
Let's Mow.
Do you think they own a landscaping business?
Maybe. We're going to find
just
out.
like to
How
cut
did
grass?
we become friends? So we
Well,
both started working at Speed as road tour team
Yes.
people.
So Kaitlyn joined in 2011?
12.
12.
I think, yeah.
12? I started in 2009, but we actually met way prior to that.
We did.
Here in Charlotte. Our good friend Michael Foley introduced us. You went to college with him, and we were out at one of the bars here in Uptown, so that was really fun. And that's when I first met you, and little did we know that we would become besties.
And there's a lot that has changed since that moment. It's pretty amazing.
And a lot we've been through together and done and had fun. And
we've been friends a long time.
It's been a good time.
It's been cool to watch your career grow.
Well, thank you.
And I just think it's really neat to share all these commonalities with that. So
Speaking of friends, Shannon, this one's for you. So my good friend Shannon sent in a question. She wants to know our favorite city to go to for work, and then like our favorite things to do there, whether it be restaurants, shopping.
Yes. Okay.
You go ahead and go first on this one.
I do like Vegas. I honestly love going to that race every year. I keep waiting for myself to outgrow like wanting to go to Vegas. It just hasn't.
Not yet. Haven't
Not
had
yet.
enough.
Haven't had enough yet. But it's like small doses, right?
Sure.
Like go there for 3 days max, head out. But there's so much to do. Like I think people are like, oh, it's partying, whatever. But there's restaurants. There's great entertainment shows. So many singers have their residencies there. Like you can see some of the best musicians in the world performing there. So that to me is what makes it so neat. And there's no place like it. You roll into there and it's like, this is a real city. It doesn't feel real.
Yes. Yes. I actually like Texas too because of Billy Bob's, the big
that's
honky
such a
tonk.
We've been there together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the stockyards in Fort Worth. It's just a really neat place to check out. I like country dancing, so I like to get my boots on and go dancing. And they've got good barbecue, of course. And Kansas too. Great barbecue, great food.
A hidden,
and the not red light district. What is that? Light district.
Definitely
What's it
not
called?
that.
It's called something. No, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Gaslight.
it's like
something
where
in
PBR
Kansas.
and everything is.
Yeah,
right?
it's downtown. What is
PowerPoint.
Power
and
district,
light
power
or
and light,
something.
power and light district.
That's it.
I messed up. I don't know, red light, whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. Just look it up, Google it. It'll get you there.
That is a cool area.
That is a really cool
really
area.
fun area.
And it's really fun. They're open real late.
I also love going to Sonoma. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, how could you not?
How could you not?
That's just a great,
Why
beautiful place. Why not? It's a beautiful place. The racetrack's really cool.
Yes.
So those are probably my top picks.
There you go, Shannon. Those are the next ones you got to come to for girls trips.
That's right. And, you know, we're going to be talking to people who run racetracks over the next 2 episodes, which is really, really cool. So we've got a lot of great guests coming up, and I know that they're waiting in the wings to come join us on the show.
Let's get them.
And now we are so excited to welcome Jeff Gordon, Vice Chairman at Hendrick Motorsports, past champion Hall of Famer, to the show. Great to see you, as always.
Here we are in the Hall of Fame. No, great to be on the show for the first time.
I know.
And, you know, seeing what you guys are doing a little bit here and there. Love it. So it's good to finally be with you.
So you said first time, which means maybe he'll come back a second
I think
time.
Yeah, he just left the door open.
Do this right.
That's right.
So, well, I would be remiss if I didn't start off congratulating you on Kyle Larson's win, of course, over the weekend. What a huge moment for the team, and now he's going to the Championship 4.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we're certainly it's awesome to have 2 that are in it with William and with Kyle in this round, but also we're focused on the owners, championship with Chase Elliott. So a lot. And plus, we want to get Alex a win right before the season's over and get some momentum. So, to knock out a win in that first race in this round is huge. And we knew this could be a good round for us, looking at the tracks, the way they line up, the way we've run at Las Vegas, the way we've run at Homestead and Martinsville. So we're pretty excited to have our guys in there battling it out. And for those guys to go execute like that, especially after it was a good day, but there were some moments where it could have been really bad. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So to be able to come through that and get the win, and then just a nail biter there at the end with Christopher Bell running so good and running them down. I was pretty nervous whether it was going to happen or not.
Made it interesting, that's for
it
sure.
Did. I
but
think
you
we
guys
all
got it. Yes.
Holding our breath there to see what would happen. But we're here at the Racers Forum. You just came off the panel. Your panel was talking about the evolution of ownership. You've been in this sport for a long time. So how have you seen it change over the years?
I mean, it's kind of gone through some different evolutions and waves in my perspective. I mean, now being in the role I'm in as vice chairman, I love to go look at the history of Hendrick Motorsports and the sport in general, and how did we get here, and how can I play a role in telling that story of the history, but also help us move into the future. And so I think Rick Hendrick, kind of started with an opportunity he loved racing, he loved cars, and hey, let's go try out this NASCAR thing. I don't think he ever thought 40 years later they would be a powerhouse in the sport. But then there was also a period of time where the revenue was actually pretty strong when, late 90s and early 2000s, if you looked at, the expenses and the sponsorship, the TV deal, other sources of revenue, merchandise, things like that, it was really, really good. And so all of a sudden, Hendrick Motorsports starts reinvesting in buildings and people and machines, and all of a sudden, boom, here it is. And then it kind of changed a little bit after 2007 and 8, and it was like, oh my gosh, how do we cut costs? How do we, survive and be sustainable? So it's a fascinating business. We're very fortunate to have, somebody like Rick Hendrick with the automotive group as, basically partners of ours, really. I mean, a lot of our sponsors come through the relationships that are through Hendrick Automotive Group that find value in being sponsors. So we're pretty fortunate, but I think, the future is going to be really interesting. We've got a TV contract, that's being negotiated by NASCAR right now. The teams are talking to NASCAR about how can we change the model slightly to be more sustainable. And then you do see a lot of faces like myself and Brad Keselowski, who's also on the panel. You got Heather Gibbs. So there's a lot of succession plans that are being put in place for hopefully what's a long future.
And it's changing on the team landscape. You've got 2311 coming in, RFK, which you mentioned, Trackhouse. What are some of the teams that are newer? What are they facing that's different from the established powerhouse teams?
Yeah, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages, right? I mean, we have been working for many years to put the people in place that we have and be able to grow people from early beginnings in the company to see what the culture's like, but also figure out, hey, if you're a young engineer, how do I become a lead engineer or a crew chief? Maybe they're learning to be a pit crew member, but now they're an established pit crew member. And so we have kind of a way to bring people into our organization and grow within it. But we also have a lot of buildings and a lot of overhead. And, so I think the newer teams like Trackhouse, like 2311, they got to come in and say, okay, next gen, we don't have to manufacture all the parts and pieces of our car. We just need to assemble these cars, and we need to have the best engineering and find ways to go fast. And so they can plan their building around that. They can plan the number of people that they have around that. They can plan their schedule of how they get people to the track and back around some of those things, as well as how they compete. And so I think with right now with next gen, there are some big advantages, but it's going to take them a few years to catch up to the established teams that have been at the top. But I think with this car, they can do that easily.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah.
I want to know what it's been like for you, because you've come from the driver's seat to the executive position, and then what do you maybe bring to the table that some of those other executives can't because they don't have the racing experience that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I like us to surround ourselves by racers. I mean, really, in a way, Rick Hendrick's a racer, right? And he built this company and his own automotive group company from the ground up. So, that culture's just always been there. And the fact that he's giving opportunity to other people that kind of have the same vision or have helped build the company. Jeff Andrews, Chad Knaus, myself, and the list goes on and on. I mean, we've had, we had a lunch not long ago for employees that have been there 20 plus years, and you would be blown away when everybody stands up that's been there for that long a time. So yeah, I just, I think that our company stands out because of Rick Hendrick and the mentorship that he has been able to give to me. I didn't go to college, so every day I'm like, man, I wish I had that college degree on business and other areas. So I have to go off of my experiences, just being in the thick of it. Of course, it helps a lot that I was a part of championship teams, not just one as a driver, but, seeing Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus and that team be formed as well. So I think being there at the company as long as I have been, there's definitely a huge advantage that the people that I get to connect with and know that they feel like, hey, it's nice that we have racers that want to take this company into the future.
You mentioned mentorship. How do you aid in the mentorship of your drivers and developing them? Because there's so many things that they're kind of dealing with at a very young age that can be challenging.
Yeah, and I know that there's probably some that have left the sport that are really focused, or some that really are like driver coaches, right? They'll go through data and they'll talk about the race. That's not me. Like I've always felt like I'm way better at doing it than I am telling somebody else how to do it. So I kind of stay away from that. I'm really about your lifestyle and your how you approach sponsorship, and how do you get to the racetrack and be prepared and ready to go and compete at a high level, and have as much stability as you can within your life, your work ethic, and making sure that you're spending quality time with your team, building those relationships.
Yes.
You want them to trust in you, and you trust in them, a lot of confidence, but you want them to also think you're the man. Like you're the man that can get the job done, or woman. And so, to me, it's how you work through that aspect of your job. Of course, also how you represent your sponsors at sponsor events and your brand. We're trying to build star power and brand as well. We want these guys to be themselves, but we want them to, also be professional and represent the sport and the company.
You was always one of the best at that. You changed the whole game. I remember when you
Well,
came through.
I talk about this a lot. I had opportunity. The sponsors were really pushing and putting you in advertising, putting you out there in the marketplace. The sport was trending and growing, and it just seemed like there were a lot of opportunities. I feel like these days there are opportunities, but they're vast, and it's somewhat diluted. And so you have to find those areas and those places where you can really kind of make your own mark.
Yeah.
When you just sat down with us, you said that you're in a lot of meetings, so you have your hands on a lot of things. What would you say is the most enjoyable part of your job now?
I think working with the people. As a driver, I had kind of my core group of guys, the crew chief and the engineers and the people that build the cars and the pit crew, and you were tight with them.
Right.
But you really didn't step that far outside of that. I mean, I would go around the shop and would shake hands and say hi and things like that, but I didn't really know them on a personal level.
Right.
Now I'm getting to know these people on a whole nother level, and I'm just blown away by their commitment, their hard work, the things that they create, the way that they work together. It really is a family environment, and that's what Rick has created, and that's what I want to continue to do, moving forward. So that part is a lot of fun to me, but we've been able to celebrate a lot of wins too. So
Yes,
it's fun to see
300
to be exact.
Over 300 now, though.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I loved it though in our panel just now. Heather, she said something about putting out fires. I usually describe it in a slightly different way, but it's true. Like the job will overwhelm you with the number of things that you're dealing with that you had no idea were going on before you got into this role.
I can't even imagine.
And it's just on a daily basis putting out fires that are happening all around you, and you just hope that you get to go to the racetrack and compete and get away, from that part of it, and it's all worth it with the results. And not everybody gets the results, but we've been fortunate to get them, so it's a good balance.
You guys have created something very special at Hendrick Motorsports. Thanks so much for your time, for joining us on the show.
Is it over already?
Love hearing your insight, as always. I know you got to catch a flight or something like that. Did you know you're going somewhere?
I
okay,
am, yes. I'm
making
going
sure.
to New York with my wife. So.
Nice. Have a good trip.
All right,
Thanks
you.
again. Appreciate
Thank
it. And now joining the Mics Are Hot podcast, Julie Giese, president of the Chicago Street Course Race, which was such an incredible event earlier this season. You were put in charge of spearheading this whole thing. What was it like for you? How did this go? I mean, because that's a huge undertaking.
It is. And, honestly, I mean, you don't know. Like, we've never done anything like this before. It's not anything I've ever done. So I wasn't really sure what I was getting into, but in a great way. I mean, that's part of why I was so excited about the opportunity, because it truly was this blank sheet of paper that we were doing something for the first time in NASCAR's 75-year history, which is just crazy to think about.
That is crazy to think about.
But it's coming back for
It's coming
2024.
back, yes.
So are there any sneak peeks you can give us, maybe some adjustments you guys have to make, or any new things we might see this season, or this upcoming season, I should say?
Yeah, we're excited to be back July 6th and 7th, same weekend. The course will stay the same.
Okay.
We got really great feedback from the drivers. I think, it was, again, a lot of their first time doing street racing, and they were able to pass. It was a great race. So we're going to keep the course the same. We're going to, we learned about from a viewing perspective. We're hearing from fans what they want to see. So we're going to just tweak some of the viewing areas a bit. One of the things that we've heard from people is they want to have, they want to bring the whole family. So that's something we're looking at from a family experience, youth pricing, things like that. But, just a few months ago.
I know,
I'm
right?
already on to
Together, right?
24.
We're already moving on next year.
But we had 9.1 inches of rain, and there was so much that we didn't get to do. So, next year, we just want to be able to do a lot of those things that we weren't able to deliver this year.
When it came to the race itself, though, it was a spectacular event, marquee event. You guys did a fantastic job. Congratulations on the first year going so well. But I want to talk about you for a moment, because you're a Wisconsin native. How did you first originally get into the sport of NASCAR, and was that sort of the path you had been trying to go on?
So I'm a race fan. I grew up a race fan. My dad watched racing, big Dale Earnhardt fan. So I loved racing growing up. And I grew up on a dairy farm. And when I went to college, I went to college for agriculture because it was what you did. I didn't know anything better. And I spent a couple years going to college and did an internship in my degree, which was animal science and genetics, and decided, this is not for me. I don't like this at all. So I advocate for internships as often as possible. But so at that point, then I was changed my major to marketing and really started thinking about what do I love? What do I want to do? Right. And I loved growing up in the agriculture space, but it's not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I loved racing, so I was like, okay, let's do this. And
cool.
I actually, when I graduated college, sent my resume out to all the racetracks. I have a folder full of rejection letters.
Don't we all, right?
Yeah.
I know. Literally, I didn't know about it. I didn't realize I had kept them. I think the race fan in me kept them because they had racetrack logos on them.
Yes.
Right.
So I have a letter from Daytona and from Phoenix Raceway.
They all said
Kansas
no.
Speedway. They all told me no back in.
But things
the late
changed.
I know. And just perseverance, and we're able to make some connections and started my career at Watkins Glen in 2001.
Very
Wow.
cool.
Well, before we
Wow.
get into that, I have to go to the dairy farm because what were your roles and responsibilities? And then does any of that like translate for you to what you do today?
It really does. So my job was always taking care of like the young calves, so
Okay.
feeding the calves, and so like that was my brother and I had chores, and actually this past weekend I was home, and my brother's on the farm now, so you're not exempt even though I haven't lived there in 2 decades, still on the farm helping out. And you know what, the thing about growing up on a dairy farm was just all about hard work. Like we never took a family vacation because it's not like you can just say, hey, cows will be back in a couple days.
Right, that's
right.
true.
You just can't leave them. And so I think, you know, I learned very early on from my parents, just like if something goes wrong, like there's no one around to fix it except you. So put your head down and get the work done, long hours. And, you know, I think that has definitely translated in my career as I've continued to grow and learn, and then especially with the street race.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Some of the skills you learned at an early age transferring over to your professional career. You mentioned a rejection letter from Phoenix. That did change eventually, and you were in charge of that racetrack for a number of years, brought championship weekend there, and did so many great things in the community, too, while you spent your time in Arizona. So tell us about that.
It was my 4 very fast years, but some of my most rewarding years out there. That is an amazing community. And when I left Daytona in 2016 after we opened Daytona Rising and joined our construction team where we were going to build and renovate Phoenix Raceway, I was asked by our HR team if I wanted to be a track president, and the answer was no. And those 2 years on the construction side and spending time out in Phoenix and really learning more about just different management styles and how our track leaders managed their different facilities. When the opportunity presented itself, I raised my hand, and it was a great place to work. And it's such an amazing facility. I mean, it's so picturesque with the Estrella Mountains, the city of Avondale, and the city of Phoenix in general. The state of Arizona, incredibly supportive, and it was just a lot of fun and so many loyal fans out there. Again, I'm a race fan, so. That's my favorite part about the job is just I sit in the grandstands for the first 10 laps of any race that I'm working at because I just want to like remind myself like this is what I do. Like
Right.
I
I
drive
love
to
that.
a,
It gave me goosebumps.
Yes, yes.
so it's fun, and I miss it, but Chicago's been great, and what I learned in Phoenix has definitely prepared me for what we needed to do in Chicago, which was all about making a community impact and being a really positive member of the community.
And talking about the fan experience, what do you think is the most important aspect when you're kind of constructing the venue or just putting things together for what fans see on race day when they get to the track?
You know, I think it really it depends on the market that you're in. And this is something that I learned as we were renovating Daytona. And we did a lot of focus groups, and a lot of our, you know, Daytona is just so historic. And so many of our fans told us, yep, renovate it, but don't make it too shiny. Like, keep that little nod to history and what makes Daytona so, like, you go through the tunnel and you have those goosebumps. And with Phoenix, it was really a different, we were taking it in a different way. It was all about technology and being able to bring that access to the fans and really put a highlight on the things that makes our sport great that maybe people, like, just based on the venue and the way that it was set up before, you didn't have that access. So you look at that infield experience now where you can walk into the garage area essentially and see the teams working on the cars. It was really meant to be something for our avid fans, but our new fans, like, now they're just like, wow, this is amazing.
Right.
And so when you think about now to Chicago, like, we have so many new fans. 85% of our attendees this year were at their very first NASCAR race. So, like, our biggest thing as we move forward is just educating them on like what to expect, what the races are, who's racing in each race, what's the difference between the NASCAR Xfinity Series race on Saturday and the NASCAR Cup Series race on Sunday. So that was one of the questions that I got was, is it the same drivers both days? Like, and
Not
you know,
quite.
And you're like, yes, but no.
Yes,
I know.
but
And
no.
kind of
Not quite.
sometimes.
I know. Well, that was where it's like, man, you know, it's been really refreshing in Chicago because it's literally like step one. I did a talk with a bunch of our STEM teachers where we were rolling out a curriculum, and we did this great presentation. And the first question was, "What's a street race?" And I'm like, okay, and I think about that now every time I go and have a conversation because it's like, it's a huge opportunity for us to educate everybody about NASCAR, what we do, who is in the industry, the stories, whether it's the drivers, the teams, the pit crews, all the different partners, the media, like just everybody that comes together to put on those races.
It's really fascinating to think all that goes into bringing, NASCAR to a new venue. Do you have a bucket list, like track that you want to work with in the future? Because obviously you've worked with a number of them. Is there one that you've kind of thought, like, someday, maybe?
Yeah, or one you could just make up.
Or, maybe you can make a brand new one up.
Like, you know what? And I wasn't looking for Daytona when I found myself in Daytona, and then Phoenix, and now Chicago. Like, I didn't think I would ever leave Phoenix, very honestly. I mean, but the opportunity to get close to home and to do something and just be part of history was so appealing. So I guess my bucket list is just continuing to push myself and, not be afraid of a challenge.
That's fair. You seem very up to the challenge.
Yes,
that's
yes,
for sure.
you do. So this question we ask a lot on our show. It's what fuels you? So basically, what's the motivation behind what you do?
I would say just making my family proud. I think my parents, again, they put in a lot of hours on the farm as I was growing up, and sacrificed a lot so my brother and I could, like, I was in band and my brother was playing football, and so for me, I think I'm out there representing them and my entire family, and again, I'm a race fan. Like, at the end of the day, I love that I go to races. I mean, and I get paid to do that. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Pretty awesome.
It is.
That's my favorite part.
Very cool. I'm sure your family is very proud of you. You and Ryan Blaney both had that answer. His was to make his family proud as well. So you're doing a great job of that. Thanks for all your contributions to the sport and innovations as well. We appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now joining the Mics Are Hot podcast, Heather Gibbs, co-owner of Joe Gibbs Racing. So nice to see you.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate
much.
you
I appreciate it.
taking time for us, of course. And I feel like I need to start out by discussing the success of Joe Gibbs Racing this season, because 3 of your 4 teams gone to victory lane, 3 of them still in the championship hunt. So this is an exciting time for you guys.
It's been so exciting, and they, everybody works so hard over there. It's kind of amazing and humbling watching from a different perspective this year. Just how hard they work, the effort. My father-in-law is a grinder. Like we land from Las Vegas, we get in, it's 1 a.m, and he's at the shop at 7 a.m, watching pit practice, and, just he wears it every day, all day.
The work never sleeps, right? It just keeps going and going and going. Your situation is so interesting to me, too, because your son races very successfully, I might add, a past champion, of course, in the Xfinity Series. What is that like for you, watching your son race? And I know he's grown up doing it, but it's still, that's a unique dynamic, kind of balancing all of the roles, right?
It's really hard, and I think Coy said it best at the championship race in Xfinity, and he said, when they said, watching him race, and he said, first and foremost, and we both believe, we're a parent first. Ty, over a team owner, over anything else, I'm a mom first. So I'm, as hard as it is, to watch if he crashes out or something happens, you're definitely a Joe Gibbs Racing owner. You want your team to win, but it's tough because you're just biting your tongue and holding your breath every single lap and every pit stop. And I talked to a couple other parents, actually Dana Byron, and I was like, does it get better? Like in 5 years, does it, like, do I feel better? Is it easier? Am I like, don't have butterflies every second? And she's like, I just can't tell you it gets better. And she's like, I'm always nervous,
Right, that makes sense.
But it is fun, and I'm probably his biggest fan out there. Maybe Joe might argue with me, but we for all of my kids in all their sports. But yeah, I mean, watching Ty and just really the course of this year and just his maturity and his growth, and he's like a hero to me, so it's really impressive.
He's a phenomenal talent.
Yes,
I can't wait
thanks.
to see what he does throughout the course of his career.
Yes, he's been fun to watch
throughout,
because we both covered like the K&N series
Yeah,
and
the
Argo
lower
series,
series.
so we've seen him kind of come up through the ranks. But this new role you have as a co-owner, you talked about it a little bit. It is an adjustment for you. So would you say that's the biggest adjustment from going from like parent to co-owner, or just stepping into that role entirely?
I think stepping into the role, it's hard because you're walking into the room where it's mostly men,
Yep.
pretty much the whole building. We do have, some Tonys on our leadership, and she's head of HR, and she's great. But it is, you're walking in there, you are worried. Okay, what are they looking at me? What's my value? What do I bring to the table? And finally, you just have to like get dressed, walk in, sit at the table, and the next time it's less awkward, and then it's more comfortable, and you're speaking up, and you have a different perspective. You're looking at it from and I'm probably have so much experience on the driver development side, walking
Right.
through ARCA, walking through Xfinity, late models. So they've been practicing ways, and I'm like, what? Hey, this is what people are talking about. So I think that perspective has been well received, and so you do bring value, and I think that's been important. And obviously for my family, just being a part of it, we're second generation. I'm it before it goes to the grandkids, so wanting to see that succeed and just continue to carry on is just so important.
I love that you fully embraced it and that you're now a bigger part of the
Thank
race
you.
team. That's really neat to see. I think you'll bring a lot to the table. And for those who may not know, tell us some of your background and your education and the different things that you've done prior to this.
Sure. So went to Radford University, have a Bachelor of Science in journalism, public relations, and
Love that.
moved
Good choice.
Yes, yes. It is a great choice. Moved to Charlotte shortly after college, and my brother and sister, JD and Melissa, I actually met them, and they introduced me to Coy. So it was kind of a blind date set up.
Oh.
And he was racing, and JD was racing. So really, I mean, every Friday, Saturday night, we're at Tri-County Speedway, Caraway Speedway. So for the past 30 years, I've been at late model races, and the grassroots racing I love. It's so much fun.
It
Those
is,
people
yeah.
are diehard.
True.
They love their fame. And the drivers at those tracks, I mean, especially like when Ty started late models, I mean, those guys are phenomenal. They're amazing. You're never going to beat them. I mean, so it was really fun coming up through that. And then a natural progression, helping Ty. I actually in 2016 got my real estate license. My daughter's a big equestrian and really needed to find a way to pay for the horses, and immediately, worked hard, found great success in that. I've sold over 300 million in houses, and
I know. I follow your real estate page. It's very nice homes.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's fun. Again, it's problem solving. It's helping people, and listening to what they want, what they think they want, and putting them in the right location and place. So that part has been really fun. And then as everything has changed over the course of the year, my heart and soul has really, being at the race shop, being there, it's just, it's like you go to the track and the smell of the tires and the gas, like it feels like home. It's like
I know what you
smelling
mean.
cinnamon
Yep.
buns, but you smell racing fuel.
I love that.
Yeah.
They need to bottle it and sell it as like perfume. For
I
some of
mean-
us who like that.
Yes. So that's exactly right. And so being there, and we have so many, I mean, I think there's 450 employees. We started with 17, and we have 7 still of our original employees.
Oh.
So you've known them forever. And they're excited to see the family continue on. They're excited, they're supportive of me. And that was something I was a little insecure. Like, are they like, what is she doing here?
Yeah.
But they love it, and they're welcoming, and it feels like home. I mean, that's what I say all the time, but it really does.
I love that.
That's good. I'm glad that you feel
I
more
know,
comfortable,
it
because I
is.
know that
Yeah.
that would be intimidating. I don't know
It's
how
it's a
I would
lot,
do
yeah.
it or respond. But you mentioned a bunch of your skill set from that experience. So what do you think is what helps you most in that ownership role?
I think, obviously being on, learning the back of the house, learning the front of the house of running a company, having experience and comfort dealing with really emotional people at high level, at their most emotional state when they're buying, selling homes, and you're comfortable with it.
Yes.
Having a thick skin, I think that's been the biggest
Oh yeah.
gift or talent that I've learned through real estate is just not getting your never getting your feelings hurt, and drawing everybody back to, we're here for the deal, to close the deal. This is our end goal. I get it, you're upset, but it doesn't bother me, and redirecting and trying to close that deal. And I think Also, a really great perspective or opportunity I've had is with our different sponsors that are coming in. They love having a female in the room. You know, the table looks different, your perspective, and I think also like they're excited, they're learning about racing, and then they can't believe you have a kid that races. So it's that part's
That's a great point.
It's
Yeah.
fun to have that.
And I know you want to ask about the family unit.
Yes.
I think that's such an interesting
Yes.
topic to
Yes,
talk about.
I wanted to know because you married into this family, right?
Yes.
Not just on the NASCAR side, but they were also NFL coaches.
Right.
So what is that like to be involved in that kind of
two major
situation?
sport
Yeah,
dynasties.
Yeah. I think when we were first dating, Joe got inducted into the Hall of Fame for the NFL in '96, and Melissa, my sister-in-law, and I went. We didn't know anybody. Like I had two sisters. We lived in DC, so there was. I think it was like Shamar Moore or something. Like he was on General Hospital or something. Like, he was the most like famous person that we could tell. But so it was just kind of you're comfortable, natural. You just get used to being around all these people, and everybody wants to be treated normal. I think that's the biggest point. You know, like a lot of the NFL players that we got to meet, they just want to be normal. They're normal people, live normal lives. So you just have a comfort zone. But tremendous respect for Joe, and people love him. I
Yes.
think he and Pat are just incredible people. They're great leaders of the family. But it's been exciting, and Melissa, my sister-in-law, I adore her, and she's great, and she's strong, and she's just been really, really encouraging to me. And then she's got 4 boys, and we're really close with the nephews, and we call them the cousins. They're all very close. So,
Yes.
it's been great for both of the families.
It's amazing to see what the Gibbs family has built. We appreciate your insight so much, and we're
Thank
excited
you.
for your future and
Thank
everything
you.
that you have going on within the team.
Thank you.
Thanks
I
for your
appreciate it.
time.
Thank you so much.
And now we do welcome Ty Norris to the Mikes Are Hot podcast, president of Trackhouse Racing, of course, who's been around the sport a long time. It's good to see you. We appreciate you being here with us
Thank
today.
you for letting me come on here and let my mic be hot.
That's
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah,
Heck yeah.
that's right. So people may not realize this, but you were instrumental in helping Dale Earnhardt build his team back in the day, right? So
Yeah.
share us some memories from that time frame.
Yeah, I tell everybody it's my 34th year, and I show it. It's like every wrinkle. But yeah, in 1992, Dale asked me to go to work for him, and we were in New York. I remember just exactly when it was, and he asked me to go work for him. I think I was making about $27,000, and I looked down and said, "You can't afford me," and so we became immediate friends. And so he kept saying we're going to come work for me someday. And so in 1996, he came to me and he said, "I've got a runaway train. My business is ready to explode, and I need you to get on board." And so we did, and we took what was basically a field and an old chicken house and a horse barn, and turned it into what became Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. And there were a lot of people. Dale was an incredible human being, had a lot of people around him that were very smart in all the different areas. And I was fortunate enough to be sitting in the passenger seat as he was driving that whole business, and just learned. And that's what I did. I spent a lot of time learning. We all made a lot of mistakes, and I was a part of the build, and it was an experience that I'll never probably give enough credit to, because when you get that type of exposure to the valedictorian of the University of Common Sense like Dale Earnhardt was, that's just a blessing.
That is really neat. Very cool story.
Yes,
Yep.
it is. What do you think he would say about what's going on in the sport today?
People ask me all the time, and I actually, he's a very traditional guy, and I don't know that he would love it. I don't think he would love like stage racing, and I don't know if he would have liked the point system and all the things that are in place now. And I say this, and not to be rude to the memory of Dale, and a great friend and a great mentor, but I think maybe sometimes he was hard-headed. He might have held some of it back, and kept it a little more traditional. And I think that some of the stage racing and the breaks and the interesting format and the playoff format are just phenomenal for the sport. And he may have too, who knows, but it's so. I just remember he lost his mind on Mike Helton one time when they took happy hour away after the Xfinity race.
Oh.
He called him up. He said, how can you do that and not talk to me? You should have got my
Consulted with me.
permission
Yeah.
to change when practice is. And Mike's like, I'm sorry, but I'm the president of NASCAR and I make that decision. I think Dale would probably have a lot to say about the drivers and their hunger. And because that's one thing that no matter how much money Dale made, he was always hungry. I remember one time we were on a boat together, and he hung up and he slammed the phone down, and he said, I just bought my first jet. And he says, damn, I race so hard when I'm in debt. And so I think we just need people to race like they're in debt.
The
Yes.
race and debt. Yeah,
Yes.
that's one of those things. What is a Dale story, one of your favorites, maybe, that isn't traditionally known? Can you share one with us?
Yeah, one of my favorite stories is there was a hurricane was going to hit Florida, and it was supposed to come up through Georgia and then get into Charlotte, and we were supposed to race in Loudon, New Hampshire, and all the teams were trying to decide if we were going to leave on Tuesday or Wednesday and beat the hurricane before it was supposed to get here. And Dale was in Colorado hunting elk, and he called me from the top of a mountain. It was cell phone and very bad service, and he's like, hey, he's whispering. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm hunting elk. I can't talk. I'm like, well, then why'd you call me? So, you call me because you can't talk. So he's like, just don't let anybody know. I'm coming home tomorrow. I'm coming home a day early. And I said, oh, you're going to get here, but you're going to land right in the middle of the hurricane.
Yeah.
He goes, what hurricane?
Uh-oh.
I don't know anything about a hurricane. And so he starts talking about this hurricane. And I said, yes, supposed to hit this, supposed to hit this Florida, supposed to come up through, and supposed to hit Charlotte, and we're going to send all of our guys up a day early. He goes, no, you're not. He said, that hurricane's going to hit this town, and it's going to take this direction, it's going to bounce off. And he goes, you won't even see it in Charlotte. And I said, Dale, 30 seconds ago, you didn't know there was a hurricane. Now you're going to tell me, all these meteorologists are telling me where this is going. Now you're going to tell me where the thing's going, and you didn't even know 30 seconds ago that it even existed. And crazy enough, he was right. Crazy enough, he was right. I mean, I'm not joking. I swear to God. So he landed, and the next day, and it was, and Childress and all those guys sent their guys up a day early, and he's like, they just wasted money.
That's pretty funny.
That's
Proved you
great.
wrong. you
Yeah.
know? Don't
He,
say
It's to prove wrong or to prove right, right?
Right,
He's always proven
exactly.
himself right, I guess.
Right, right. Well, before we go forward, I do want to go back a little bit because you were actually a sports writer prior to media relations. So what was your plan to do with your journalist degree? Were you going to do just print media, or did you ever want to be on camera?
TV, yeah,
TV?
you broadcaster future.
I never had they always tell me, oh, I had a face for radio, and I don't have a voice for that either. But I wanted to be a sports writer because I played sports and I understood sports, understand what was going on around it, and then I've discovered an ability to take moments within the game and create stories around them, and they were never like AP style where it was like team won 2-1 and here's who scored. It was really it was always trying to take a different angle about it. And I loved it. I loved the growth of writing and being able to express yourself. And then it was the first time that I went to a game and someone knew my name, and I was like, how do you know my name? Well, we'd read your articles every week. And I was like, oh, shit, this is great. But I just thought being a sports writer was going to be my whole life. I never had any intention to do anything different. And I was covering the Dover races in Dover, Delaware, when Bob Kelly, the representative who ran the Winston Cup Series media relations at the time, came up to me and said, I'm looking for an assistant to go on the road with me, spend a lot of time, because there are a lot of races. And I think at the time there were 32, now it's 38. A lot of races, and he was like, I need someone to kind of like help us with media, help us with the drivers, help us get everybody where they're supposed to go. And I didn't have any idea what a media relations position was. And I interviewed for it, came down to me and got him Kevin Triplett. I didn't get they hired me, and Kevin Triplett didn't get the job. Then he went to work for NASCAR as their PR person. So, but yeah, I just thought, being a sports writer was the coolest job of all time. And then I was proven wrong because the job at RJ Reynolds was the coolest job I ever had.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you've been on the team management side for a while now, and you've built Trackhouse Racing into something very special. What has that been like for you guys?
Well, I've tried to explain Justin Marks is really a remarkable human being, and his vision for how to do things differently. And so when we sat in California, we went to California, we sat down, and he started talking about, I have this vision for a race team. And we put in this big old whiteboard. I do everything by whiteboard. And we just started writing all these things down. Well, it has to be this, and it has to be that, and we have to have entertainment. We have to be outside the garage. We can't just be another team because we'll get slaughtered by by the Gibbs and Hendricks and the Roush's and Penske's of the world who've been doing this forever. So we have to come up with some different ways to present ourselves, and we have this opportunity to tell our story from a fresh perspective. And so we just we set out against a certain number of goals, and a lot of things that have happened at Trackhouse are intentional. That is what we talked about from the very beginning. And all we've done is pretty much has pursued each one of those markers and then also just fulfilled our promise against them. So it's been great. I tell Justin all the time, like, I haven't worked a day since we met. And I said, I work every day at not working, but I haven't. I haven't. I love it. This is very special. I was very fortunate to work for Dale Earnhardt for a long time. I worked for Michael Waltrip for a long time. This is my third time starting a team from
The beginning,
from literally nothing, and I tell him this is probably the most special place I've ever been.
That's
and and I don't say it just because I'm here. I say it because I mean it, and the place it means something to everyone who works there.
You just talked about a lot of your experiences in NASCAR. So what's one of the biggest maybe lessons you learned throughout all of your career so far?
The biggest lesson I've personally learned is I tell everybody that I learn something new every day, but 20 years ago I knew everything. When I was young, when I was, Dale died when I was 35, the day he passed. And I was the executive vice president, general manager of a team that was just in peril. We didn't know what was going to happen, and it was a big organization, and he was everything to it. And so instead of today's Ty Norris is a completely different human being than I was then, and because I listen. I take it all in. I educate myself because everyone who works for Trackhouse is better at their job than I would be at their job. Every single person. And so if I try to tell them something, then that's just lessening them. If they tell me and we can help resource and make them better, then that should elevate. And so that's the lesson that I learned, because 20 years ago when I was at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, you couldn't tell me anything. I knew it. So the mistakes, this field of dead soldiers of mistakes that I had made is hard for me to rally past. And with a lot of people that I worked with in the past, when they meet me now and they work with me now, they're like, who's this guy?
Yeah,
but no, that's the lesson. Is just you better keep learning, and you better listen to the people who are better at it with their jobs than you ever will be.
You have a vast.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say you have a vast knowledge, obviously, of the sport, and we're here at the Racers Forum, kind of talking about the state of the sport, how things can evolve and change in the future. How do you think team ownership is going to continue to move forward and change from what you've seen back in some of your early experiences?
Well, I think. At Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, we had $7.2 million from Budweiser and $9 million from Napa.
You remember all those numbers?
$8.4 million from
impressive.
Pennzoil.
Wow.
$1.2 million from an associate. We had all of our money coming in, and we were making between the least amount we were making $1.5 million up to $3.5 million per team. Today, you could triple those numbers, quadruple those numbers, and you're losing money. And so the days of just racing to be racers is sort of, when you look at this as a business, some people would then have to look at it, okay, how does this support my other business? I've heard Mr. Penske say this is the public facing piece of my real business, which is the car dealerships and truck leasing. And so as I look at it from a Justin Marks perspective, the man loves racing. Like he can't get enough of it. It's an adrenaline thing for him. But it all has to make business sense. And so to diversifying outside of just what's in that garage and just what's in racing, I think owners are going to have to diversify to find other revenue sources and other areas where you can elevate your sponsorship support. So for instance, if Trackhouse is involved in music, then musicians are playing all across the country. So you can host all across the country in addition to the partnerships that come on with racing with the 38 races we do. So I think ultimately, if you're going to be an owner in this sport, you're going to have to use this sport in the way to elevate all the other businesses that you can create around it.
Very interesting insight there. I think you have some rapid fire, right? You want to do the rapid fire?
Sure,
one?
I could do
Let's
that.
Do
All
it.
right, these are going to be fun.
These are more fun.
Uh-oh.
Not
All
so
right.
much
Okay.
about
They're
all
the
those
hard-hitting
millions
questions. Yeah,
of
let's do it.
dollar
Let's do
figures
it.
you just
All right. What's your go-to Pitbull song?
One right now that I love is called is off his new song. Is called "It Takes Three."
It takes three.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder
It
what that
takes two
means.
to make a thing go right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aha.
So you're also a singer.
That sort of thing.
There
I like
you go.
it. I like it.
Love
Racer you would love to be a part of Project 91.
Lewis Hamilton's always been at the top of the list.
yes.
Daniel Ricciardo is there. Max Verstappen is like a swing for the fence. So those three.
Yeah, I like
love
it.
all
I
those-
think out of the three, it's like Ricardo might be your best shot because he's
Yeah.
a big Earnhardt fan. He likes
Yeah.
Well, we
NASCAR.
actually just saw him last week, and
Nashville,
and
right?
Justin just walked
Or
up to
was
him and said, "Will you drive my car to the Daytona 500?" And he was like, "Whoa, maybe."
Wow.
Wow, but maybe.
I like
That
it. I like
was
it.
not a no.
It was
All
not a
right,
no.
last one. What's the drink you're going to order at Tootsie's in Nashville?
It's actually called the Tyrone. I named it after me. Yes.
Yes.
It's, it's Tito's.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
Tito's and flat water and 2 orange slices. And then starting January 1st of 2024, it's always going to be Busch Light.
There
Oh
you
my
go.
goodness.
Wait,
So
does
I
she
was going to say, like, when did you start going by
Not
Ty
Tyrone.
instead of Tyrone?
No, we want to say Tyrone
when
Norris.
I was a kid, my dad, I wouldn't answer by name, so my dad started nicknaming. He called me. So if you don't answer to Ty, I'm gonna call you Punk. So I was Punk for a long time, and finally I was like, can I not have that name anymore? Because now I'm in school and people are laughing at me, and so I was always Ty, and I didn't even think about Tyrone. And then obviously when I got older, and they're like, we need your official name or your legal name, and it was Tyrone, and I was like, that's interesting. And but my dad is named after Tyrone Power, who was this hunk of a Italian actor. My grandmother loved him, so my dad was named after Tyrone Power.
Okay.
And then when I was born, my dad and mom and dad were lazy, and they just put Junior on it.
Tyrone
Gotcha.
Jr.
There you go.
Tyrone Punk Jr.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time. Thanks so much for sharing all your insight and
Oh, of course.
stories. It's
Yeah,
really cool to hear those.
I always like to talk about the good old days.
Yeah.
Because these are the good old days. I tell people all the time. Today we're living the good old days today.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks again. We appreciate it. Well, this has been a really awesome day, to say the least. Hearing from all these perspectives, Jeff Gordon joined us, saying he'd been watching the show and seen some of what we're doing.
Yes.
It's so cool.
That
And
was
just-
really cool.
Yeah, among many things that were cool about these conversations.
For sure.
It was just
Yeah. There's so many big takeaways, but I mean, it's hard to even recap it at this point because we talked to 4 great guests for this show. We have
Right.
3 more coming up on the next one, and
yes.
man, it's been very eye-opening to some things that I didn't know about the sport. That's for sure.
I know, and that's the whole point of this is learning more about it and continuing to push it forward. You mentioned the 3 guests. Next time, it'll be Brad Kozlowski, Rick Ware, and Jessica Fickenshire will all be joining us for the second installment of the State of the Sport shows, which you can catch that on the 26th.
Yes.
Of course, headed into Martinsville. Am I right
Yes.
on that? I can't even keep it straight anymore.
I know.
think that's right.
I know. It is.
So, all right, and we encourage everyone to keep subscribing to the show if you've been enjoying the podcasts. We enjoy all of the support, so we look forward to seeing you guys next week with episode 2.
Los dos.